So you saw a little bit in the video, but the Motor City Mapping Project is it's a collaborative exercise between the Michigan Nonprofit Association, who helped us hire all of those surveyors you saw. It was a pretty monumental task to hire 125 people in about 2.5 weeks, get them all trained up by the great folks at Data Driven Detroit, who provided really excellent foundation for us to understand how to structure our data architecture, and also provided the training for the surveyors to help them understand specifically what they were looking for out there in the field, so that when they were identifying the building and they were evaluating it, they had a very specific set of criteria to do it with. We also work with Level 1 Technologies, a local technology startup here in Detroit who focuses on mapping, most notably with the Why Don't We Own This and the Wayne County Tax Foreclosure Auction. And they were the technology partner who really allowed us to create not just a one-time-in-time data set, but really a live, living document that you don't need a master statistics or urban planning to really understand. So what I've got in front of you here is the screens. This is actually the technology we used for the survey. We broke the city up into this massive grid. We had a big city to 142 square miles to bite up and choose. So each survey team is assigned a specific area of the city. So hey, you're going to go to C6 today. What they did is they would go out there, collect their tablets, go out into a specific neighborhood, and drill down and start collecting survey information. Go out there, take a photo of every single property. They would answer some very specific questions you can read more about in the book, which would get to, is the property occupied? What conditions is the structure in? Has there been fire damage on that structure? Is there a vacant lot there? Is there any structure there at all? Before this data set existed, if you were a policymaker in the city of Detroit, or in Lansing, or in DC, and you want to know the specific condition information about a particular house, or in a particular neighborhood in Detroit, you really had to guess unless you were from that particular area. This is especially true because property changes quite quickly in Detroit. I mean, a house can go from being in pretty decent condition 1 month, and 6 months later it's completely abandoned, and so are 3 others on the street. So it's really important for us to get current understanding of what the condition on the ground in all these neighborhoods was. So what you see in front of us here is a particular neighborhood on the northeast side. Each of these green structures represents some information, or a property that we have information about. And what you can do with this technology now is you can start saying, hey, I want to see all of the unoccupied structures in this area. Simply click, bam. Instantly, this is the information from our data set from the surveyors out in the field, and you can see where all these structures are geographically in each neighborhood. This is pretty powerful stuff because if you're in City Hall working in Detroit, you might not know specifically which addresses are unoccupied, or maybe even more relevant, let's see where are there empty lots in the city. Okay, these are all the empty lots in this area. If you want to see what a particular one of these properties looks like, you can simply click. Very simple. You don't need any master statistics to do this. Click and see. Okay, hey, there's what the property looks like. You can see, hey, there's no structure there. We don't know what the use is. It's obviously an unimproved lot. Well, what this aggregated together, this data set allows you to really zoom in on any neighborhood in Detroit and understand at a level that's never before been possible. In addition to collecting basic information about what's there, we can also see stuff like, hey, let's see all the fire damaged properties in this particular area. Okay, what does a fire damaged property look like? There you go. It's pretty incredible to be able to do this really quickly. These pictures are very current. They were taken in December, January. And as we start rolling out other phases of this project, they're going to be updated and maintained yearly, so we'll always have current information about what the condition of properties in the city of Detroit is. And it's really important to notice, Linda pointed out in the very beginning, that the community surveyors were part of this process, so we tried our best to have individuals from the specific neighborhoods that they live in, survey their own neighborhoods, to provide that local context and information about different properties in the area, because there's a lot you can't get just from driving on the street, and we understand that. This is just kind of we don't say this is the final answer, this is kind of a base code. What we then did is we layered all this data together with 24 other administrative data sets. So for example, let's say, hey, what about ownership? So what's owned by the Michigan Land Bank in this area, for example? This is great because for a lot of the time you don't know specifically which public entity owns this property, whether it's public, whether it's private. It can be a real challenge when you're trying to deal with blight and mitigate these properties, not knowing specifically who owns them and who you need to go to try to address that particular property. So the technology you're seeing here is it's in an early alpha stage, and it definitely is going to be made publicly available in the next 3 months. We're working on the second phase of the Motor City Mapping Project to roll out every resident of the city of Detroit and employees of the city of Detroit to be able to access information on a web portal that's online and interactive. So if you don't agree with the picture of your house, or you think there's some piece of information that's not being accurately portrayed here, you can actually update this yourself. You can go online to motorcitymapping.org and update this information. That's a couple months out, but what we do have right now today is this website. So if you go to motorcitymapping.org right now, you can see this map of the entire city of Detroit, and you can click through and see in a particular neighborhood, what is the current property condition in there? How many structures are there? How many vacant lots are there? What is the condition of properties there? How many properties have fire damage? How many need boarding? How many are vacant lots with dumping on them? And you can do that by any neighborhood. You can also break this up by city council districts, for example. You can slice and dice the data a number of different ways. And over the coming months, this website's going to become much more robust. You're going to be able to do a lot more. You're going to be able to drill down to individual parcels, individual neighborhoods, individual blocks, and start seeing what individual properties are being done. It's also going to be a great place to be able to get updates on what information is being done about demolition in the city. So it'll be kind of a centralized resource for information about everything going on. On this website, important to note, it's also, you can actually download the data from the survey that we have. So if you're an academic institution or a news organization or a community group interested in collecting that kind of information, you can go to motorcitymapping.org and click through on a link, and it'll take you to the Data-Driven Detroit Open Data Portal, which has shape files, CSV files, all kinds of different ways to download this data in an open platform. So you can download it, modify it, get some insight, and then share that with other people. So we can really have a collaborative environment. Collaborative data sharing was so important to this project. To get us to this point, we feel it's very important to continue to share that information so that everybody in Detroit can be on the same page when we go into these discussions. That's a quick preview of technology. Only other important thing to note is that the technology that the surveyors used in the survey was called Blexting. So when you actually had these individual reports come up, this is what's called a Blex, and it was done from a smartphone. In the next 3 months, we'll also be releasing a Blexting application publicly for free to the residents of Detroit. So if they're interested in Blexting and continuing the survey process, they'll be able to download the application on their Android or iOS phone. They'll be able to go out there, take pictures of property, upload those pictures to our centralized database. Data-Driven Detroit will be working to step one train people on how to do this and understand those specific definitions, and also monitor revisions to make sure people aren't uploading pictures of cats or worse to the website. But it's really important that this is kind of a collaborative activity. Like, there's a lot of stuff that the city of Detroit knows, particular information about how big your property is, what the parcel ID number is, what your current tax assessment status is. That's all administrative stuff that the city knows and you might not know as a resident, and this data portal will help you understand that. But there's also a lot of local context that the city of Detroit can never know because you live in that neighborhood. And this database will help us kind of bridge that gap and connect the residents of the city with government directly. So that there's a particular house in the neighborhood that they feel very strongly about, maybe it's been a blighted building that's been depressing values in that neighborhood for a long time. Now there's a direct way that you can connect to city officials and be able to actually show them through your own eyes, taking a picture of exactly what that looks like. It can be cataloged, you can keep track of that over time. So that's what the Motor City Mapping Project is. You'll keep seeing updates on this in the next 3 months, and we hope that everybody will take part in the Blexting.